that you're going to take this examination is the strategy. And there are 3 levels: prelims, mains, and interview. So there's, first and foremost, it's important to understand that there's no clear-cut division in terms of कि अच्छा अभी prelims की पढ़ाई, फिर mains की पढ़ाई, फिर interview की पढ़ाई. It's an integrated sort of preparation, but there is a difference in strategy at each level. So for prelims and mains, the books that you'll be relying for will be the same. So I'll just, I think, depending on the subject, I'll just tell you the books which I use. They were basic books, nothing out of the blue that I, scored out of from some different shop that you guys don't have access to. It was the basic books. So for example, Polity, you take up, it was Laxmikanth. And apart from Laxmikanth, these are books you have to read for both mains and prelims. Right now, I'm mainly telling you for prelims. For mains, I also added certain more things for my own, which I'll tell you later. So Laxmikanth was there. For prelims last year, I also went through the Bare Act. Just the Bare Act. I just revised it 2 times before it won't take too much time. So it looks like a very fat thing, but however many articles are there in the Constitution, you just read that. You have already gone through that in Laxmikanth. So it's not as if you just replace Laxmikanth, but if you have had multiple revisions of Laxmikanth, you can go through the Bare Act in terms of cracking certain prelims questions mentioned in the Constitution. So if you just go through that, I think it personally worked for me. If you don't have time for that, it's completely fine. I'm just telling you what I did. So first was that, polity, then economics. So economics, I was in the residential coaching academy at Jamia. So there was, I didn't go for all the classes there, but there was a sir who sadly passed away during the pandemic, Zulfikar sir. So his notes I mainly relied on. And so they were available. I used that. Some people who were preparing alongside me also looked at certain other notes which are available in the market. If you're coming for coaching classes, I think sir teaches economics here. You can just rely on your coaching classes notes. So I think the most important thing is relying on one source. So whatever coaching you're going for, whatever classes you're going for, just stick to those notes. Apart from that, you can refer any book. I personally didn't use it. 11th class NCERTs, people who have absolutely no background and who want to go through the basics of micro, macro and Indian economic development can go through the 11th, 12th NCERTs as well. Economics, history. I personally had a history optional background, so I didn't go through many other books, but Spectrum is one thing all of you can go through for modern history. For ancient and medieval, there are 2 ways of going about it. So one is the chronology based idea. So the old NCERTs, which is R.S. Sharma and Satish Chandra, are usually used for getting a basic hang of what the chronology was. For the prelims, I also went through the themes books. But because I was already a humanities student, it took me a little less time. I just skimmed through them and jotted down points which I thought were important with regard to the prelims. So that is more useful for a thematic sort of study after you know the chronology of what happened in ancient, medieval and modern. So that is how I went about with history. Geography, just sticking to the basic NCERTs, 11th and 12th mainly. You can also go back 9th, 10th if you feel you're not able to get a hang of the 11th ones. So that is there. What other subjects are there? Can any of you? Environment. Towards the end, closer to my prelims, I also used to do a sort of analysis of previous year papers. So based on that, I made a Google map of major national parks and sanctuaries in terms of understanding their location and not just like remembering them. So I just used to pin them and look there. I made a list of the endangered animals, the 22 species recovery program, just getting a hang of the environment that those specific animals live in. So certain things apart from the book you have to do on your own. So those things I used to sort of make a list about that. Basic, so that sort of analysis of previous year papers you can do. Any other subject? Yeah. Art and culture, I used 9th class fine arts. I think it's a good book with regard to a basic understanding of architecture, temples, which helps you in mains also. Last year there were questions which if you had gone through the fine arts book of 11th class, you could have answered sufficiently well. And for science and tech, I didn't use any specific material. You can go through the NCERTs. I think previous year's prelims paper, if you had gone through the NCERTs, it was a lot of like biology-based questions. If you had just gone through previous year papers and looked at NCERTs, you would have been fine. I personally didn't go through that, but I think it's a good idea. And science and tech, I use the basic material that is available towards the end in terms of the whatever coaching books or compilations at the end which are available for prelims. I use that. So these were the basic books. Apart from that, for current affairs, you can use whatever coaching material. I used to use the compilations. I personally didn't go through monthly books because I didn't have that much time. But I have seen lots of people use the monthly books and leave the compilations. So they used to regularly read the monthlies, make tiny notes or underline, and then use the monthlies only. So that depends on you. I don't think it makes any difference. So these were the materials. For prelims, my strategy, apart from that, was going through previous year papers, analyzing them. So the last 3-4 years paper, I used to religiously go through in terms of after attempting it, go through the other options as well, Google search certain things, and then make notes out of it, just 1 or 2 pages. So I can just revise towards the end. For the other ones, like the previous 10-15 year papers, last year what I did was I looked at them thematically. So if I'm looking at modern history, I look at all the questions, sort of see where they're going, and based on that, then I used to study accordingly, and again make notes of whatever the answers were, because sometimes it does help. Sometimes there's the repetition of question. There was a certain question I remember regarding Parivrajaka. This is completely like I can remember right now, which was in a previous year paper, and it helped me to eliminate a certain question in the next year paper. So sometimes it does help, just going through thematically previous 10-15 year papers. So that was my strategy for prelims. For mains, it's a different ball game. There are, apart from the basic books, so you need to have a command over the basic books by that time, because you'll have revised it 2-3, at least 3 times for your prelims, which is very, very necessary. Revision is something, again, which I'll again and again remind you, because it's one of the most it's the hardest thing to do. Once you've read it, there's a sort of inertia which comes. You don't want to look at that same book again. You feel it's already done, but you need to pick it up. You need to pick it up as soon as possible, and then later on as well. So multiple revisions are the only way in which you can actually make things remain in your head. For mains, apart from all of this, looking at the previous year syllabus is very, very important, and looking at previous year question papers is very, very important. So what I would suggest is, if you're, say, looking at geography, or if you're looking at environment, you would have your class notes with you, right? So you would have your class notes with you, you have your basic books with you. Before you start again revising or start preparing, just go through the syllabus of that particular geography unit. Or for example, say social issues unit, there's an issue called, I think, women's issues or population. There are certain keywords which are mentioned there. So while you're going through that material, focus on those keywords again, and then look at the previous year question papers as well, and after that come back to study. So you'll be studying the same thing, but your orientation and in your mind, you'll be like, acha, this is some question which came, this is some question which may come in the future. So there's a trend you can analyze and then prepare accordingly. So that, I think, was important for me in terms of keeping the syllabus in mind and then reading your static material. As a corollary to that, and that is what Sir was also saying in terms of how to integrate your class notes with the preparation and with current affairs. So after you